Howdy, everybody. Just give a few more minutes. You're gonna be there. You go. We got some people popping in. Alrighty. Welcome to the Emergence show, everybody. Got 2 viewers so far. I'm recording it this time. I apologize. The last time I forgot to hit the record button, and the last stream is now gone to the depths of the internet. Alrighty. Cool. We got 2. I'm cool with that. All right. Once again, welcome to the Emergence show. This is episode 2, where I will be talking about music and all things music. Yeah, that's the whole point of this. Once again, my name is Red Hawk. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a Native American / Mexican, if you want to identify like that. I'm a musician myself. I'm also a hip hop producer. And overall, I'm a music enthusiast. So, real quick, I just want to go over the disclaimer that I'm gonna pretty much go over for quite a while until we get this down. But basically, the opinions of this show are the opinions of my own, and they are not set in stone. I am subject to change them because I'm not one of those egomaniacs that sticks to their guns no matter what. You know, if you tell me something that's better in my opinion, then yeah, I'll change my opinion. So also the callers, if there is any callers today, are definitely, the opinions are theirs and theirs alone. It does not reflect the show, and that's pretty much it. Oh, I forgot to pause that. That is for later. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, well, let me just jump straight into the topic because, you know, music, I feel like I could talk a lot about. I feel like it's something that I really, really have a passion for. So definitely want to talk about it. Let's start off with how I got into music, why I'm into music, why it became so important to me. And pretty much eventually, hopefully later on, I'll get phone calls from you guys to ask you, pick your mind, why is music important? That's kind of the question I wanted to ask. Maybe if you have some kind of awesome musical story you can tell me. I'm definitely open to that. So my little background in music is basically, as a very, very, very young child, going to school in the morning, hearing the radio on the way to school. I would listen a lot of K-Rock. My dad would put it on going to school. I remember that very, very, very. It's a very, very vivid memory that I have of going to school in the morning, even with my mom, and listening to K-Rock. If not listening to that, then it would be like if my mom was going, she'd probably put on, Kiss FM, pop music in general, or even I would say Spanish music. She would put on Spanish channels, and I would listen to that. So those were my influences, especially in the early 90s, which was alternative music, which I continue to listen to today. I love me and Offspring. I love me Weezer, Green Day, those, pop punk, skate punk bands. I love that stuff. Yeah. I wonder why that happened. It was kind of crazy. Damn, I lost all my viewers. That sucks. Oh, I'm back. Yes. Sorry about that, y'all. I don't know what the hell happened. My OBS just crashed. It was weird. I've never seen that before. Yeah, so... Okay, where was I? Let's get back on the track here. I don't know what that was so weird. Everything just crashed. Okay. Yeah, so... Bottom line is, I grew up listening to that kind of music, like going to school. That was a big deal. Now at home, that was a different story altogether. My dad in the past used to run I can't even see viewers anymore. My dad in the past, he used to run a nightclub or several nightclubs, from what I understand, and so he had a lot of that. I don't know what you call it, like disco, like that Debbie Deb type stuff. um, yeah, so he would put on a lot of that kind of stuff, the stuff you hear at your parents' parties, or at least for me. I'm born in 1990. I'm 30, so 31, and yeah, so so if you've ever been to a party and you hear like the song Danger, or things like that. Yeah, there you go, circus disco, exactly, exactly. Um, yeah, that's the kind of music we would listen to, but also my dad would listen to a lot of hip hop. Um, he was actually into a lot of hip hop that a lot of people didn't know, especially on the West Coast. Or I wouldn't say that. I would take that back. He did listen to a lot of hip hop. I would say more than the average parent would. um, and yeah, so um, yeah, it was just like a lot of that kind of music. A lot of gangster hip hop. Then there was just the old Run DMC type stuff. Then we would even listen to like house music, so I'd get that like you know that really fast doom doom doom, doom that's just really like fast, very very fast house music. And then I would say my mom's side of the family, they're very 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 into classical rock. Well, it would be considered now classic rock. You got your Led Zeppelin. I mean, my dad was into that too, but I would say my mom's side of the family was really really into it. You have your Iron Maidens, your Black Sabbaths, your all that stuff. So, I got this influence from both sides. One, my dad was like listening to weird musics, like listening to bands like Primus at the time, and I know they were big in the '90s, but like those are just weird bands to listen to. So I really got to get a full spectrum of music, as far as a listener goes, from my dad. And then my mom's side family, they were very 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 much into classical rock. A lot of them are musicians. I have a cousin who's in a Iron Maiden, or I wouldn't say he's in an Iron Maiden tribute band, but he's in a band that does do Iron Maiden covers very well, actually. Um, yeah, so also I have an aunt that played. I have my aunt and my parents. My mom, she played drums and piano. My uncle played guitar. So music is a big thing for me, and that's why it became very important. Um, I've actually wanted to start playing probably very young. I didn't actually start playing till maybe middle school, or maybe even a little bit before then. But um, yeah, it was definitely something that I really really wanted to get into. And my uncle Sergio, the one that passed away, he passed away recently. He gave me my first guitar. Uh, I don't know what it was. It was like some off-brand. It was a nice guitar. It was a nice electric guitar, but it was some off-brand one. I don't even remember the name of it, but it was. I took good care of it. I got to learn a lot of of how to play, like literally all the fundamentals on that one, the basic fundamentals, strumming and what it feels like to put your fingers on the frets and all that good stuff. So yeah, so music was very important to me growing up, and it wasn't until I got a little bit older that I started to get into my own vibe of my own music. The first thing that I would really really listen to a lot, which like I said, was that pop punk, pretty much things that were on K Rock. I really liked everything on K Rock. When I was really little, I was kind of like, it's probably not gonna say lame, but it's definitely something that that I kind of don't like to speak of, even though I listen to them now, is like Third Eye Blind. That was probably my favorite. I remember that being my favorite band in like third grade. um, I do actually like their songs. I'm not gonna lie. There's a few that I like. Their hits are pretty good. Uh, do I listen? Do I go out of my way? No, not really now. But yeah. So and then like I said, as I got a little bit older, like fourth, fifth grade, I was listening to a lot of Green Day. Like I said, The Offspring. The Offspring was actually my favorite band for a very long time. You know, I love their speed. I love just the voice. Everything about them was. They're from LA. They're from OC. At that time, I was skateboarding a lot too, so that was like the music you listen to. You know, skateboarding. Um, yeah, I remember playing. Like video games is another big deal for me. So I remember playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, and hearing all these bands on there. Like even they even had like more real punk bands like the Vandals and Dead Kennedys. Or like I remember hearing Police Truck and just like, you know, I mean, it's such a great song. And that was just like it opened my eyes to all this other music that, you know, I felt like I haven't heard, but it was always there. Like it's really old music. You know, it came from the '80s. You know, from even before then, the Ramones were, you know, in the '70s, and I got to really, you know, enjoy all that. So yeah, you know, listening to bands like Weezer and stuff, growing up into that, and eventually on K Rock, as the years progressed, new metal became a thing. New metal, yeah, that started coming out. I remember like hearing Corn on K Rock, and I was just like, whoa. I mean, yeah, there's just the energy of that band was like, wow, like that's just heavy. It's you know, it makes you want to, you know, just really nod your head to it, and it really 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 just I was vibing it. I felt the energy in it. I really wanted to like bang my head every time I would listen to that. And then eventually, you know, that turned into other bands like, well, Slipknot became my favorite band. And what was cool is I had cousins that were also into that, and you know, just listening to that music was just like, damn, it's so heavy, it's so hard. Um, I remember I had a few cousins that were like into Rob Zombie and like Power Band 5000, so I got to hear some of that, which also opened up my horizon as far as new metal went. And yeah, really, I personally bought, or I had my parents buy me several new metal albums. I had I had Slipknot's their first album. I had Power Man 5000, you know, Worlds Collide, that CD. So before then, I actually had like, you know, I had the Offspring, I had Americana, I had yeah, I just had all those albums, you know, like a lot of the like, man, I loved it. And then not to mention the collection my parents had, I would listen to their music, um, and it was cool, you know, I was really into it, so much to the point where I started dressing, you know, to part. You know, I used to wear the band shirts. I would wear, you know, Slipknot shirt or a System of a Down shirt, or you know, shirts like that. And then I have like the spiky hair, the crazy, you know, the crazy like cone spikes like everybody was wearing. Some people dyed their hair tips blonde, and I wanted to do that. The parents didn't let me, which is honestly like, as I think back on it now, I'm just like, yeah, I'm happy. I'm kind of happy I didn't do any of that, because I'd probably regret it now. But you know, whatever. It is what it is. So yeah, and then so after that, after listening to all that music, I started progressing my metal tastes, um, while secretly listening to hip hop, while secretly listening to different artists, different, like, you know, I was listening to my Led Zeppelins. I was listening to like all that West Coast hip hop that I was hearing. You know, occasionally I would hear songs that were on the radio from, you know, from bands like, I mean, from groups like Wu Tang, and you know, whatever was on the radio as far as hip hop went is kind of what I would listen to. Um, but at the same time, I was listening to what was on the radio, and what CDs I had and stuff, and I was getting more and more into the underground music. New metal wasn't really underground at that time because, you know, it was on K Rock and stuff like that. But um, I started hearing about bands like Slayer. I remember the first time, I think it was the first time I ever heard Slayer was I was playing Vice City, and Vice City takes place in the 80s, and they have a few thrash bands on the V Rock channel on the Vice City game, and I think it was they had Raining Blood from Slayer, which hearing that for the first time was like, whoa. Like, I'm missing this stuff, like this came out in 1986, and I'm barely hearing it now, like almost. I don't even know when that game came out, but it was definitely later. Also hearing Anthrax, they had Madhouse on there. Um, what else? Let's see, Anthrax. They had a few other like hair bands like Twisted Sister. They had Motley Crue on there. They had a few different a few different bands like that. But the all the thrash stuff, I was just like, oh man, like this stuff is great. And that was it. I remember shortly after that I ended up buying the Raining Blood album, and I listened to that thing over and over and over again. I love that album. It was one of the best albums, probably to this day. Like, I mean, I'll go back and listen to it all the time. It's just for 1986. That, I mean, it was just dark and heavy and satanic, and all that stuff that you would get from listening to these really really dark thrash bands from the 80s. And it's like, like people were like concerned about Motley Crue talking about shouting at the devil when Slayer is straight up saying like, singing about altar of sacrifice, like literally murdering somebody on a sacrificial altar. Like, it doesn't get any more like whoa factor than that. It's funny though, but later down the line, I find out that I find out that Tom Araya is a Catholic. He's a Chilean Catholic. These dudes are family men, and they could sit here and be all, yeah, Satan, but at the end of the day, it's like, these dudes, it's theatrics. It's theatrics. And maybe some of these dudes are for reals, but for the most part, that made it kind of okay for me to listen to. Because honestly, yeah, there is some kind of moral vibe that you get from listening to that stuff, and if you take it serious, well, fuck, then you got some problems. I never wanted to really sacrifice anybody. But needless to say, though, there is an aggression factor to it, and that part I do enjoy. I do enjoy the aggressiveness. When you hear a D beat, like like you wanna pit, you wanna slap somebody, you wanna hit somebody. So I really got into that. I definitely got into to that whole thrashy, those skank beats. It was so fast. Dave Lombardo on the drums just fucking bashing it out. Yeah, and then just from that point forward, I was listening to thrash band after thrash band, and then which got me into death metal. Listening to bands like Death, listening to bands like I don't know, Suffocation, and then that eventually progressed into black metal bands and brutal death metal bands and like grindcore. You got the classic Cannibal Corpse, and then you have like, there's just so many bands. Like, I'm not even gonna go down the list because I'm just being a little fanboy by doing that. And yeah, so as I'm listening to that stuff, I'm getting more and more. I'm like surrounding myself with it. I'm dressing like it. I'm wearing more band shirts. I'm wearing all black. It's funny because that's my wardrobe practically today. It never really changed, but I'm just comfortable in it. I just like it. I like the way I look in it. Now I don't wear band shirts. I mean, I do if I have band shirts, I'll wear them, but I don't really have too many now. I would like to buy some, but it doesn't change though. Like, I really enjoy the style of looking like a metalhead. Some might think it's kind of like, dude, all right, you're too old for that, but nah, I don't care. Anyways, so yeah, I pretty much listened to all that music up until high school. I had a friend, Ruben, who was actually the son of a friend of my mom's, and he was a musician. He played guitar, and he kind of introduced me to a lot of bands that I wasn't aware of, but also more so what he did was introduce me to playing, learning I guess, I don't want to say riffs, but like learning metal techniques on a guitar. There's things that metal uses heavy, like a lot, and it uses it heavily. And in the process of that, that it would take a really long time to learn those techniques if you were just trying to learn it on your own. But because I had somebody there who was already going to school for that, who was already um, diving deep into that, to those techniques and stuff, he was able to kind of rub. I was able to rub off that and get some of that information onto me, and go about it that way. I ended up learning, like simple stuff like squeals, tremolo picking, palm mutes, heavy chugging palm mutes, power chords, different types of power chords, a lot of minor chords, a lot of heavy, dark, depressing sounding notes, that I don't think I would have learned very quickly on my own. I don't think I would have learned it. I don't think I would have learned those at the rate that I was going. I did take guitaring very serious when I was younger, but I just, as far as learning the techniques, I didn't have YouTube at that time. It wasn't really so much of a tool anymore as it is now, where I can literally go online and type in, how do you tremolo pick? And then you have this dude like, showing you how to tremolo pick, and, or how do I play, Burzum's Dunkelheit? Like, this dude on there, like, all he does is show you how to play black metal songs, so, to learn that by ear and to learn that by just visualizing musically like that, that was like, it was really cool. So yeah, that rubbed off on me. And I took it with me, and so much to the point where I was able to play black metal. I wouldn't say like really great black metal, but enough to make an album. Enough to play full songs. And we did eventually create a band. It was called Wolfenkrieg, all German and shit. Yeah, Wolfenkrieg. That was the name of our band. It's kind of funny because to understand like where the German aspects come into black metal and why, and what it has to do with as far as World War II. A lot of it's like, oh well, it's BD, it's what's it called, freaking Nazi black metal, basically National Socialist black metal. A lot of it uses imagery from that, and I could see why it's not the greatest. It's not the greatest of music to be into, as far as, especially as a native activist myself. To listen to look pretty much racist black metal. That it's not a good look. But at the same token, I do understand why. A lot of these, especially the northern countries, were getting their asses kicked by the Russians, and Germany came in there and like kicked them out. At least, I know there's more complex history there, but for the most part, that's kind of what happened. So a lot of them like kind of see Germany as a hero, to a small extent. The second thing about it that is, I'm gonna probably get some hate for this, but I don't really give a shit. But is a lot of them feel kind of like a purist, like it's their land. They're sticking to their roots, which I definitely can relate to. They're getting back to their own tribal European roots. And as an indigenous person, like, do that on your land. Yeah, go for it. Don't do it on my land. Do it on your land. And I feel the same exact way. With my own people. Definitely have. I definitely have. Wait, hold. Sorry. What's up, Dirt Eater? Thank you for listening. So, my views on that is basically, one, connecting with your actual roots is cool. The second thing is having this sense of like, this is my land type of shit. Like, I vibe with that. Do that on your land. If you're European and you're proud of your land and that's how you feel, be my guest. Keep that shit on Europe though. I feel the same way with my land. This is native land. The Western Hemisphere is indigenous land, and I do feel that, that we have every right. The rights of this land belong to us, and that I believe that full 100%. So that's kind of why I kind of permit myself to listen to black metal, even though if it gets a little racist, then I'm not gonna listen to it. But um, yeah, that's pretty much how that goes. So we were I was in that band or whatever when we were playing, and we created a little demo, and we had it on MySpace at the time, and I remember MySpace, you could have like a little music player, so you get to actually click on it and listen to it. So that was kind of cool. It was my first little experience with recording and putting it on there. We had a little 8 track that I had to download or to record this music. It sounded like shit, but then again, like that's the whole point of black metal. It doesn't sound the greatest. It's supposed to sound raw and low budget and low quality, and that's ultimately that's what it was. Like I'm just a high school kid. I didn't have a job. I didn't have nothing going for me. Maybe I don't know. My parents might have helped out, uh, but ultimately I had this little 8 track recorder and a compact, you know, laptop that I was using to record my music and stuff. Yeah, so then, high school kind of passed. I'd really kind of stopped playing a lot of music. I was just, focusing on like getting my job going, having children. uh, having kids and all that stuff. And then, I'll pick up the guitar every once in a while and play, and nothing crazy. And it wasn't until later that I had a brother who bought. He bought. Let me read it. It's an Alesis V25 keyboard. It's a sampler. Yeah, maybe. I wouldn't doubt aliens listen to music. Um, but yeah, it was a keyboard with the little sample pads on there, and it has the little keys and all that stuff, and he bought it for himself because he wanted to make beats, but he started school himself, so he was just not using it. Um, so he's like, "Hey, do you want to use it? You want to see if you can play with it?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Excuse me. And I did. I picked it up. One of the things I found on YouTube was that you need a audio interface, and I actually wanted the audio interface to record guitar because you plug your guitar straight into the audio interface, and actually that's what I'm using right now as we speak. Um, and it literally translates the music from a analog signal to a digital signal via USB, and it takes all the shittiness that comes out of analog and turns it into a digital version of it, and that's how it works. So the cool thing about the M Audio thing is that it came with Ableton, and they're like, "Oh, it comes," like the guy at Guitar Center was like, it comes with Ableton, and it's like one of the coolest things ever." And I was just like, "Whatever, dude, like okay, I'll take it." And then I looked into it, and I was like, "Oh, it's a DAW, it's a digital music interface thing that lets you do all kinds of stuff, lets you have extra tracks." And I had the starter pack, so it only lets you do 8 tracks, which honestly I was used to because, as I said earlier, that I had an 8 track, and that's as much tracks as I can do. And I started learning. It took me, I mean, I would say for about a year straight, I was learning, how to produce, how to make beats, how to how to how to do all that stuff as far as making beats and making melodies and understanding um, time tempos. And even then, even till now, like I still have issues with it, but I started making beats, and people were liking them. I would show people what I had, and I remember the first beat I actually made. Um, the the first beat I made was the so I'm part of a group called Two Savages, and the first beat I ever made was the 1-3-1-2 beat, and people like loved it. They loved the way it sounded. I got a lot of good reviews from it, a lot of a lot of just a lot of positive feedback from that beat. And then when we recorded over 1-3-1-2, it was just like instant hit as far as people in the native community, and it was honestly, it was like one of the greatest successes I've ever had making music. To actually hear my thing on a stage at Mashika New Year, and it'd be performed by my best friend. So it was pretty cool. I really really enjoyed it. I really, like, from that point forward, I was like, I'm making more of these beats, and and I've been making them ever since. Sometimes, right now I've been taking a break from it. Uh, Sometimes I get writer's block, or other times I'm just like not in the mood. Um, but definitely it's something I do enjoy doing. I'm actually gonna probably start picking up again if I have time. I'm just working a lot and stuff, so it gets a little bit hard. You know what? I could put it in the background, and let me see. I'll put it in the background for y'all, real quick. Hopefully it doesn't crash my thing, because I think Ableton's what, not Ableton. I think Spotify is what crashed my whole thing. Hopefully it doesn't. There it is. I'll put it on the background. There we go. Why is my name Red Hawk? My name's Red Hawk because, as I said in the beginning, I'm native. I had an elder, Inde elder, Apache elder, and they gave me that name. They, for whatever reason, they gave me that name. They felt that it suited me, and I pretty much had it ever since. I did get it translated into my native language, which is Tiwa. It goes by you would say Surfe, so that's what my name is in Pueblo Tiwa. Yep. So yeah, so pretty much that's kind of what started a little hip hop career, and then that made me start getting into the whole hip hop thing myself, and actually write some rhymes and write some stuff that I never thought I would do. I never thought, being a metal musician, I never thought I would actually be able to create hip hop. I loved hip hop, but I never really I wasn't a connoisseur of it. It wasn't something that was like extremely passionate about, but at the same time it was definitely something that I did dabble in the background. Oh my god, I don't even know who that is, but y'all are fucking clowns. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. I started making music like that. I made a black metal song again because I just wanted to see if I could still do it, and I did it. I released it on I think I put it on my Beats page, I think. Wow. Yeah, so that's pretty much more or less what my music's at, and that's where I'm at with that. Yeah, it's a big part of me. It's a big part of what I like to do. It's a big hobby of mine. I would like to hear what y'all have to say there. I put the phone number, so if you want to call in, feel free. In the meantime, what I'll talk about is how it also got me involved or actually what I didn't talk about was the whole gig scene, going in high school, going to backyard shows. So me liking thrash and stuff. You guys can call in at any time. I'll pick it up and we'll talk. But back in high school, liking that music, the way I did, I found out about the backyard scene, and for LA kids, that's kind of an alternative lifestyle to like gang culture, or like it's just an alternative to what's out there. A lot of kids are magnetized to that because of the music. Also, they might have broken homes, so they had nowhere else to be, and without adult supervision, they were pretty much hanging out at these random houses, in a backyard with a bunch of punk bands, set up, and watching them play, getting drunk, doing drugs, smoking, all that good stuff. Yeah, and I loved it. I loved every aspect of it. I loved the scene. As a kid, it was just like, wow, like this is crazy. Like it was crazy to be a part of it. It was crazy to see it. I wasn't really exposed to that kind of stuff. It got a little crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I got into a bunch of fights. That's kind of one of the things that you do when you go to gigs, is you get into fist fights, and yeah, so that happened a few times. I have a few stories of fighting, but ultimately, it's about the music, and pitting, and kind of like relieving all that stress that you get from your teen years, and your parents, if they're giving you issues, or just life in general. A lot of people, that's their escape. Music is their escape. And when you go to gigs and stuff, that was like, it was great. To get in, it was like $3. Whoever owned the house is getting paid. That's paying bills. Everybody there is able to drink in a relatively safe spot, or just listen to music in a safe spot. Of course, there's always gang gang issues, both actual hoods and even punk gangs that would kind of get created, and they would have issues, and they would fight, and yeah, stuff like that was my favorite punk. I don't really have a favorite one. I got to see the Subhumans play in El Sereno. The Vex was a club that was in Hollywood, and it closed down, and then it reopened in El Sereno, and the Subhumans played there, and that was probably one of my favorite punk rock shows I've ever been to. Subhumans, they're just, they're old. They're a pretty old band, but they still they jam out. Blink 182. But yeah, so that the Subhumans, I would say, is probably one of my favorites. One of my favorite bands. The Misfits, even though they're all a bunch of alt-right fucks now, you have Johnny Graves, straight up Trump supporter. You got you got like freaking Danzig. Danzig's a freaking, all these dudes are like alt-right foos now. But you can't really hate on the music. That's the one thing, is like when I listen to music, even though there's like, if you're white, normally I might have some issue with you being white or whatever, or issue with your political views, but man, if your music is good, I'm gonna listen to it. That's the one thing that it's kind of like, even now as an adult, I'm like, I listen to weird music. I would consider weird now, like bedroom pop. I never thought I would be into that, but I actually like listening to it. What I like more about the bedroom pop is the producer aspect of it. Becoming a producer and understanding like the music in the background. It was just like, whoa, it's cool. And bedroom pop is artists that are making. That's why they call it bedroom pop. They're making music in their. They're making music in their bedrooms. They're making their own little beats with their own little, their own little devices and stuff, and singing on over it, and they're small productions, but they're a lot of times they're really good productions. And to be honest, the music industry has never been good to artists. So for artists to actually make their music on their own is, to me, that's like a super like plus. Immortal Technique was one of the first artists that I ever heard that started doing that, and was like rapping about it, and was, he was talking about it in his music, how he said, fuck it, I'm gonna sell it out of my fucking trunk. or oh shit, did I get, I don't know, I thought I got a missed call. He's talking about his music, and how he slangs it on his own, and fuck the middleman, and I completely agree with that. There's no overhead, I don't have to pay anybody to release my music to Spotify. I subscribe to this one thing that I pay $20 for the whole year, and any song I release, I get to release it directly to Spotify, directly to YouTube, directly to Apple Music, Google Music. I mean, every streaming site you name it, it all does it in one shot. And you could even do it on your own without the $20. It's just a little more work on your end, but like, you can do that. And that's kind of the beauty of right now, is that I would say it's pretty friendly to musicians as a whole, and producers, and even this podcast. Like, look at, I'm doing a radio show that, I never in a million years would I think I'd be doing. I never thought I'd be actually talking to people, even though it's not a crazy amount of people. Hopefully this grows into something that's even bigger. But I mean, this gear that I have, it's not that expensive, and I'm able to talk to everybody and have, conversations, and just, share my experiences, share my life with the world. And to me, it was always been a goal for me to do that, especially listening to radio and loving it, and loving podcasts, and loving, all the aspects of broadcasting. Oh, getting a phone call. Let's see. Hello. Hello.
Hello, cutie pie. Hello.
Hello.
police officer.
Uh huh.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you? What's up, Arnold?
How much is that?
92 cents a minute. What the heck? Yeah, I'm not trying to get charged for this. Bro, the soundboard things are old, bro.
The name is drugs suppliers and distributors. Now tell the judge what a nice corporate killer you are.
Wow. All right, I'm gonna hang up now because it's saying that there's 92 cents a minute. I'm not trying to pay. So deuces. This is so weird. That's funny. Somebody's calling me with the Arnold soundboard. If y'all didn't hear that. Who's your father? Yeah, that's old school. Um, yeah. So what was I talking about? Yeah, just being able to produce music, being able to start a radio show, and also just all that stuff is just I love it. I'm really into that. Can't go wrong with Nina Simone, funk, oldies. Nice, good name drops. Haven't heard all of them, or maybe I have, and I just don't realize it. Yeah, to be honest, I always wanted to perform at gigs. That was always my like, man, I wish I could do that. But my bandmate when I was in high school was like really not like he wouldn't play at shows. Rarely would he play at shows, so that didn't really happen. Plus, it was a 2-man thing, and I programmed the drums so that we needed a drummer, and we never got a drummer, so that was another issue. And then like, yeah, just being on there and not having all the resources to perform, which is kind of cool though, because honestly, at those backyard shows, a lot of times people would get robbed. Like fucking cholo fools would like jack them for their drums, or just fucked up shit like that. I'd hear horror stories like that, and yeah, I'd probably lose my shit if that happened to me. So that's probably better that I didn't. But now as a member of Two Savage, I was able to perform in a few spots and get some experience stuff from that, and it was nerve wracking. I remember the first time I completely choked. I lost all of what I was gonna say. I completely just like I froze. I couldn't. I was like rehearsing it and like re-saying stuff over and over and over again, and I thought I had it, and then as soon as I got up there, just the stage shock kind of just wiped my brain completely, wiped it out. And yeah, that shit sucked. It made me really really like depressed. I was just like, man, like I wanted to do that, and for what? Oh, I'm getting a phone call. Let's see. Hello.
What's up, Emergence Show?
What's up, caller? Music. Yeah.
Okay. I think you're talking about punk rock shows or some shit like that.
Yeah.
So you dropped in to tell a quick story about my experience as a little punk rockera.
Okay, yeah, let's hear your story.
Okay. One time we're in a backyard gig in La Puente, and fucking Rompecabezas was playing, and it was a sick ass show. The backyard was packed as fuck, and there was a fire pit in the middle of the mosh pit.
Like a brick fire pit?
Crazy. Yeah, like a fire going on, and like
oh shit.
the fire pit is fucking like a dip underneath in the ground, right? Like a dug up hole. So people are moshing and jumping over the fucking fire and doing all of this crazy shit. And then in the middle of the show, this fucking guy just screams like crazy. And all the music stops playing. Everyone turned around to the center of the pit, and this guy ended up breaking his shin in like a 90-degree angle forward in the pit. And they had to fucking carry this fucking guy out of the show, and he body surfed out the fucking to the front porch.
So he looked like fucking Morty when Morty breaks his legs.
Yeah, that shit was sucky.
Oh man. So how did he break it? Like somebody fell on him, or the pit? He hit the pit in the middle.
I'm pretty sure he was all drunk, and he jumping over the pit or whatever. He missed his step, And
Oh.
who knows, maybe the crowd pushed him, maybe he did it himself, but he ended up breaking his shin 90-degree angles
Mm,
forward.
ouch. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
so
wish that
hell
upon
yeah,
anybody.
punk rock,
Yeah, hell
punk
yeah.
rock,
Um,
pain and rock and roll, and then drugs.
yeah. Hey,
All
to each
right,
your own.
then.
I'm not gonna
It's
hate
the
on drugs.
Emergence show.
All right, thank you for calling.
Good night.
Good night. All right, well, let me tell a story then, since we're talking about stories. I got one. So this was a crazy one. I find out later that we were fighting with. I got into a big brawl with a gang. I want to say it was Gage Maravilla or one of the Maravillas. When I heard we were at a gig and they had a pit going, and it was a punk pit, and this little dude, he was a short guy, but he had a baseball bat, a metal baseball bat, and he was going around the pit and hitting people with it, and I mean hitting them, and I'm just like, what the fuck? And what made me like, holy shit, like, nah, I'm not down with this anymore, was he hit a girl in the face and she knocked out, and I mean like cold, like MMA fucking cold, straight legs KO. And it was a girl, like this girl didn't, she didn't deserve that shit. She wasn't doing anything wrong. She was just on the outside of the pit, and this dude fucking hit her with the bat. And me being the way I am, I was not okay with that. I was pissed at that point. Um, and I was there with let me see, it was four of us. There's four of us, and I was pissed already. I was at that point where I'm like, I want to fight this guy now. Like, he knocked out a female. I want to beat his ass. Well, not a few seconds after, this guy I was with, his name was Jeremy. He jumps into the pit, and he ends up running into that dude's homie, like in the pit, like how you would. They bumped into each other, except the dude ended up turning around 180 and like tackled my homie from the rear and like dropped him on the floor. So Jeremy was now, and then Jeremy rolled over on his back, and this dude mounted and was just like, giving him the business, punching him in the face, and Jeremy was trying to like defend himself, but he couldn't. So I immediately sprinted, and I just fucking hit that dude on top. I just cracked him as hard as I could, and he fell off. Poof. And as soon as I did that, some fucking dude grabbed me by the shirt and like carried me away. He was a punk. He was a punk himself. He was like, "Hey man, this is your house, bro. Like, relax, chill, chill, chill." And I'm like, "Nah, like, fuck that. Like that fool's fucking up my homie, and they just hit a girl. Like, fuck these fools." So from that point forward, these dudes are now eyeballing me because I attacked one of them, and they're eyeballing me, and but the music's still going. Everybody knows the music still goes unless like the cops are raiding it or something really bad's happening. Music continues, so it's going. I end up telling my friend who was actually, that was his like his girl's little brother that was fighting, who was getting punched. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you, like? Are you not watching? Like, you're fucking let's call him a brother-in-law. Your brother-in-law's getting punched, and you're over here just like you're just like, I don't know what the fuck you're doing, but you're doing something else. And sure enough, they go around in the pit again, and the little homie Jeremy jumps back into the pit, and this time he's like prepared because he already got punched up a little bit. And so they're pitting and they run into each other, and this time when the dude turns around to 180 to do something to him, Jeremy's already ready. So he turns around and they just start going at it. They start fighting. They start going back and forth, and bam 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 bam. And so as soon as that happened, the dude's homies in the background were watching, so they jumped up there. Like, I swear it was like 10 fools, maybe it was less, but it was a lot of dudes. And then they all got off like the porch because they were kind of sitting in the background on the porch. They all got up and like rushed my homie. So then I like sprinted with my other friends, the three other friends that I was with, and just like started socking people. And I'm hitting like two or three of them in the head at a time, just bam bam, hitting as many as I can because there's so many. I remember there was like a really big dude, and I purposely went after him first because, I'm rather large, and the dude was pretty big, and if anybody's gonna hurt anybody, it's probably the biggest guy. So I always take the biggest guy out first. That's kind of my plan when I get into brawls. So yeah, so I ended up, I'm socking foods, And then I guess I found out later that the punks who were there saw what was going on, and they realized like these fools are bad, so they jumped in too. And yeah, people were, it turned into a giant ass fucking brawl, and we were fucking getting down, and finally it kind of like separated. But at that point, it's like, okay, now these dudes, they're probably from a hood, this is their house, like the guns are probably gonna start showing up. So we decided, let's get the fuck out of here. Like this is already all bad. Homegirl's knocked out over there in the corner. Like we got into this big old brawl. I feel overall win because I was fucking people up. I didn't get touched that whole night. Even though there's all those people, like nothing happened to me. And then basically we're driving home. We're dropping people off, and Jeremy goes, "Hey man, like, bro, like I need to go to the hospital." And we're like, "Why?" He goes, "Dude, I got stabbed." And he lifts his shoulder, he lifts his elbow up, and he like reaches underneath his like armpit area, and he got stabbed like on the side like a few times. I guess at some point in time, one of these dudes stuck him, and we're just like, "Oh shit!" Like, bro, you're bleeding. Luckily, his grandma was actually at the hospital already, so he was there with his family. So I guess he got stitched up, and his parents never even found out. Yeah, this poor kid. He was like 16 years old, and that shit. He got stabbed, but that's kind of what happens. When you go to shows in the backyards, that's kind of like that could potentially happen. I don't have no idea what happened to the girl. The girl, she got KO'd. Hopefully her friends took her home and she was okay after that, but didn't really know. Yeah, so that's kind of my like backyard punk rock story I've had. I have plenty of those. I have like a lot more of those, and I don't mind telling them, but I was trying to make this about music, not so much about fighting. But yeah, good times. Real quick, I also wanted to give like a little demo. I kind of made this little tiny demo just to kind of show how easy it is to make music for those of you that are maybe interested in producing or making some kind of music. So watch, let me go. So right off the bat, I'm using I don't know. So this is one thing that I recommend you use. It's called Audacity. It's completely free. You can download it online. Audacity it's really basic stuff. Like let me see if I can open something up real quick. So these are the sounds I was using for the last show. So let's just say, okay. So it's gonna load like the sample that I have. This is an MP3, and from here you can literally go like that and cut it, chop it. You can duplicate it and make loops and stuff like that. So this is like bare minimum. If you want to make simple tracks, like beat tracks that just from sampling, you could do it on this, and this is completely free. What you do to get sample sounds is you would just go on like YouTube, and then like let's just say I found like something like this. This is just a basic piano loop and it tells you 87 beats per minute. So what you do, you just hit share, you copy that down, you go to an MP3 converter, so it would look something like this. You paste it in here, you hit the convert button, download it, which is what I have here, and then now you have the MP3 version. So you would go back to this and just import it, kind of like how I did with this. Then you would get like a drum loop that you like, and then maybe if there's like a specific sound, like a little trumpet sound or a little other melody that you want to throw in, you just do that over again. I'll show you on Ableton what I did. So I got that same little beat right here. So this is a drum beat at 87 beats per minute, something simple like that. And then what I did with that was I put that piano over it right when it starts, and then you get a hip hop track. See? Simple. Nothing I would roll with, but definitely something that is simple enough that anybody can do. And me personally, like what I would do is I I would actually make my own melodies. That's just because me being a rock musician, I love to make I love to make my own sounds, my own stuff. So I would what I would do is just make a melody with the keyboard, and maybe like pick a piano or pick some kind of sound that I like, and just make a small little melody and then loop it, and then I would make my own drum beats on there on top of that. So I would build a drum pad, and then I would just record something over it, hit my drum pads, and then once I had all that, just loop it a few more times, make some adjustments if I need to, and then make some changes, that maybe even play the same thing over again at a higher pitch, or completely change the melody again somewhere in the middle of the song, and then go back to it. And there you go, you have like a basic hip hop beat. So that's kind of pretty much more or less how you make music. I mean, in a simplistic way. Obviously there's so much more to it, especially if you're like mixing and mastering, and I haven't even figured all that out. I tried to do as best as I could, but they say it's pretty, like, it requires a lot of like ear, and then also like good monitors. It's probably one thing I don't really have is like decent monitors, so I'd have to like listen to it in my car to see how it sounds, or most people would listen to music, I would say, their car, so, or earphones, like like pod earphones, or most of the time it's like your car though. I mean, I would say 90% of the music I listen to, if I'm not at work listening to it on an earphone, then I'm in my car listening to music. So it's good to get to use that as a kind of like a measurement as to like, okay, does it sound good enough, and if not, you have to go back to the computer and then adjust the sounds a little bit. Maybe the volume's too loud on one instrument, because your mixing is a little off, or all that good stuff. Man, nobody else is calling. Yeah, I think I'm gonna end it now because it's been almost an hour, which is cool. Last time I felt like the topics were a little bit longer because I had a caller the whole time, and there was a lot more stuff going on, but this is pretty cut and dry, I would say. So thank you guys for listening to my show. I really appreciate it. This is pretty fun. This is definitely something that I want to do, even if I don't care if nobody's listening, I'm going to do it anyways. But for those of you 9 that are on right now, I really appreciate it. Appreciate the support. Please tell people about the show. So the last show, what I talked about, or what I put to vote on, was music over money. The music won, so I think this next one will be about money. I'll talk about my little business ventures, and like pretty much how I handle my money. And I'm no expert, like I said. I said in the first podcast that I'm no expert on that, but definitely want to talk about it. Maybe pick y'all's brain about how money is a big part of your life, or what does it mean to you, especially from like a native perspective, or from like a colonial perspective, or like just somebody who does. I personally don't like money. I fucking hate money. So it's definitely something I want to talk about, that and what it means to me, and how I deal with it, because to me I have to deal with it. I see it as more of a chore than it is something that I'm trying to like work hard for, and it's not by choice, it's by this nonsense that we have to go through. So alright, y'all, until next time, thank you guys for tuning in. You guys have a good one.